How the North's history shaped the Season 8 premiere of Game of Thrones: The Verge. We use cookies and other tracking technologies to improve your browsing experience on our site, show personalized content and targeted ads, analyze site traffic, and understand where our audience is coming from. To find out more, by choosing I accept, you consent to our use of cookies and other tracking technologies. HBO's Game of Thrones is a dense series with a huge weight of history behind its story, so in practically every episode, something happens that could use a little explanation. So every week, Game of Thrones is back, and this week's season premiere did a whole lot of place setting for the season to come. And one of the key spoilers ahead for Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1, Winterfell. Obviously, the most important folks in town in the north are House Stark. If you've made it this far in the show, I probably don't need to explain who those folks are. But while the Starks, this week's episode, Winterfell, has the story crossing paths with several of those houses: House Mormont, House Glover, House Karstark, and House Umber. Led by the fiery, fan-favorite young girl Lyanna Mormont, House Mormont hails from Bear Island. It isn't one of the Winterfell sees the relationship between Jon and Lyanna strained, though Jon has abandoned his crown as king to serve Daenerys Targaryen, and Lyanna calls him out on it. But it seems the same can't be said of House Glover, though. The house has had that said, Lord Glover eventually came around following the Battle of the Bastards, with the declaration, "I did not fight beside you on the field, and I will regret that until my dying day. There will be more fights to come." House Glover will but in this week's episode, tensions over Jon abandoning that title seem to have reawakened the grudge between House Glover and House Stark. Lord Glover will House Karstark is an interesting house, an offshoot of the main Stark line. The Karstarks were once among the most loyal of House Stark's bannermen. But during the War of the in Season 6, when Roose Bolton makes his bid for the North, Harold Karstark, son of the executed Ricard, supports Roose's cause due to his anger at House Stark for killing his father. Harold and the rest. After Harold's death, Alyce Karstark, his daughter, and Rickard's granddaughter, is made head of House Karstark. Alyce swears House Umber's story is similar to that of House Karstark. The Umbers are some of House Stark's most loyal followers, with the now dead head of the house, Great Jon Umber, being the first to declare Robb Stark as the new king in the north all the way back in Season 1 of the series. After Great Jon's death in the War of the Five Kings, his son, Smaljin Umber, becomes head of House Umber. Smaljin betrayed during the Battle of the Bastards, though. Smaljin was killed by Tormund Giant Spain, which put House Umber in the hands of his young son, Ned Umber. Ned, like in Winterfell, Ned Umber is working to bring his forces from the Last Hearth, the seat of House Umber, and the northernmost castle in the north, to Winterfell to join Jon Snow's forces. But while returning, thanks for writing this. I was going into it, thank you for summary. Can't wait for new.
Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.